Beyond the Fence Line, a podcast brought to you by the Texas Agricultural Land Trust. Created by landowners for landowners, we're proud to play a role in conserving the Texas legacy of wide open spaces.
Welcome to Beyond the Fence Line. On our third episode, we have Bob McCan with us, fifth generation Texas rancher and a top board member. So welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Chad. Good to be here.
Well, Bob, how about we just start off a little bit and you tell us about your family ranch, down there at the coastal plains of Texas.
Sure. Well, my great-great-grandfather put the property together back in 1877. And so he was the first one that came down and kind of put some of the land together and purchases. And then there was some of it purchased later in 1900 north of Victoria, Texas. But our main family ranch there is at McFadden. And that was my great-great-grandfather's name. And so it's right at pretty close to the confluence of the Guadalupe and San Antonio River. And it's native prairie country, basically, coastal prairie. And we've tried to maintain that through the generations. And I'm actually the fifth generation to manage the property, the cattle company, and the land. And we also have a lease ranch down in Refugio and B County that we have leased from the same families our family has since 1932. And it's a pretty large ranch. So we run the three properties in conjunction with each other all together and have cattle and wildlife recreational hunting enterprise on all the properties. And all the properties, probably 99% of it is native pasture, native landscape. So
yeah, that's amazing. And I know you got to be excited of having the sixth generation with Augie there helping you and keeping that that tradition and passing down to the next generation and working towards that. And when we really think about sustainability of the ranch itself, this topic about sustainable beef production, is a topic that's really hot, in the cattle ranching business right now. So, Bob, what does, that term mean to you?
Well, it affects us, I think, pretty directly in that, in many ways, Chad, that the three stools of the three-legged stool of the sustainability theories are the economics and environmental stability and social community social kind of stability also. And all three of those, we feel are pretty important for our operation. We've got to have economically successful operation to be able to take care of our property, to be able to continue to provide for our family and that we're able to be here and manage the property and steward it. And we will never be able to do it unless we have a healthy environment out there. And the healthier it is, the better our operation is going to be, the more successful and prosperous our operation is going to be. So I've tried to instill that certainly in my children and my first cousins who are involved with us in the ranch company. I think I've got a pretty good feeling about that also, and a pretty good understanding of all of that. And so going forward, if we're going to continue to try to keep this property together, intact, which I think is very important for a lot of different reasons, for a lot of the different public benefits that it creates, and downstream water and wildlife diversity and native grass diversity and helping with a lot of the species health. And so we want to continue to try to address those sustainability issues, and sustainability programs in general make a lot of sense to us and to me and my family, just for those reasons. On the social side of it, we've got a lot of long-term employees with our operation that have actually multiple generation also, and we feel like being able to maintain a good, strong economic business and provide for employment of some of these folks, we kind of feel like we're doing our contribution to the community, and as well as the environmental health of the property. Chad, is in our area of Victoria County and the counties downstream, we're as a crow flies only about 25 miles from the first bay down there. So we know that our water quantity and our water quality is a very important component within the area. So we would like to try to maintain this in a good, healthy grasslands.
Yeah, I think that's great, Bob. Think about, the name of this podcast is called Beyond the Fence Line. And I really named it around that. You basically defined why we named it that. It's about this private land stewardship that you're doing on your ranch, and have done it for generations and generations and generations. And it's all those public benefits that people have, just don't realize, of the clean water, the open space, clean air, the wildlife management, and all those benefits. And I appreciate you and your family and what you do and provide for the community. Also, Bob, I know, you're the president of the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef, and I appreciate your leadership in that role as well.
Sure.
So also, talking about leadership components, you've served as, president of both the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. What have been some of the ranching trends you've seen during your tenure in these leadership positions for both organizations?
Well, the two organizations are both, I think have a lot of heritage there and a lot of great history there. And, my involvement with the organizations has always been a big interest to me for a lot of different regions. A lot of it just to kind of stay up on the trends and different things that are happening as we go along in the ranching industry and the beef industry. And I think these organizations are doing a real good job of kind of keeping up with that. Both organizations are incorporating and embracing the sustainability conversation and the sustainability fields out there, and they've got people, they've got staff that are working on some of these programs, and that's very encouraging to me going forward. As far as just trends in ranching, I'm probably going to bleed into one of your other topics later, Chad, on this a little bit, but 20 years or maybe 15 years ago, I guess, when we talked about permanent conservation easements, there was a considerable amount of pushback within the landowner community. And so it was a pretty brave step when Blair Fitzsimmons kind of spearheaded that whole idea of having a land trust. And it got it took a long time, but I think it's been pretty well accepted, and within the state associations, and of course at the national, they have a partnership with Rangeland Trust, and it all kind of started, those rangeland trusts in the West all kind of started at the National Cattlemen's, and with different members throughout that organization. So I think these organizations have really embraced, good positive stewardship, and they really always have. It's just kind of evolved, a lot in the last, 2 or 3 decades, I guess, and which is great. And I think just kind of making people more aware of what happens out on private land stewardship, and so it's a win-win deal there.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think too, maybe add a little bit to where you're kind of going. I mean, you've really been involved with TALT, since its inception, and served on that steering committee that, led to that formation of TALT. Can you provide a little bit, maybe more perspective about those early days, and then, how TALT came to be?
Sure. Well, the idea was to involve, we thought it very important to involve from the get-go, the first 3 largest landowner organizations within the state, and that would be in Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers, Texas Farm Bureau, and Texas Wildlife Association, and lots of great leaders within all 3 of those organizations, and a lot of good programs. And so, we really kind of had to kind of find some people within each of those organizations that really had the positive, open mindset about the importance of having a land trust, and being able to do agricultural based conservation easements within Texas. And so that was kind of a little difficult to do for a while, and then we kind of came together with the steering committee, and we had a really, really good group of folks from all 3 organizations that were willing to put in some time. And of course, as you know, Blair Fitzsimmons was kind of spearheading and helping us along the way, and making sure that nobody dropped the ball, and making sure that we had the momentum to continue to go forward. So that was great, and we got our bylaws together, and there was a couple of meetings that there was some animosity, and there was some not within the TALT, but within some of the different organizations, there was some controversy there, and some pushback for sure. And a couple of us had to make some kind of strong decisions within the organizations that we feel this is important, and we feel that we need to make this first step. And it was a very important step, and crucial for landowners in Texas to be able to have this tool within their toolbox if they feel that they want to do a conservation easement, and or take advantage of some of the programs that were coming out for purchasing development rights. And the main idea being that we really wanted to have, if you do a perpetual easement, you really kind of feel it's important to have people on the board of the land trust that holds your easement, that they're like-minded people, they're peers, they're folks that understand agricultural working lands like you do, and so that was a really very important component of the whole thing, and kind of the driving force that kept us all going. And so I served on the steering committee, and which was a great experience. And once they kind of got it put together, I was busy doing some other things with National Cattlemen's, and so I didn't get on the board for like 10 years later. And that first board, they had to work pretty hard, you know, and so they got some of those first easements in, and it was I think it was a struggle for a couple of years there, but as you can see, it's come along well, and the acceptance of this, the whole idea, I think is pretty overwhelming, you know, now within all three of those organizations. It's very well accepted, and I think it's gonna not be a little more seamless going forward. Any changes that have to be made, or any things that need to evolve, you know, within those organizations. But it was a fun experience, and I was really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, it's like conversations I've had with Blair, Bob, is, you know, I told her, you know, just amazing, you know, her leadership and, you know, persistence and passion in it. Cause in those early days, kind of getting everybody on board. And like you said, you know, it's just unknown. And I think, you know, there's a perception out there that, you know, not all easements are the same and how they're put together. And, you know, I think it was, you know, I appreciate you and the rest of the steering committee, and definitely Blair, of, you know, putting together, you know, a working lands, ag focused land trust to provide a tool for other fellow ranchers out there. So, you know, we've, you know, Bob, we've actually served on boards together with the National Grazing Land Coalition and others. And, you know, you're extremely busy and, you know, and pulled from multiple directions for your leadership. So, and as you said, you helped on that steering committee, and then kind of came back, you know, 10 or so years later to TALT. So, you know, you have, you know, why did you choose to, you know, to come back and serve on the board?
Well, you know, I kind of watched the activities of TALT during those years, and certainly took notice of all the, you know, a lot of the successes they were having. And I just kind of felt that, you know, if we're going to have this tool available to our ranching community and to my family, you know, I just kind of like my leadership with the cattle organizations. It's, you know, there comes a time to give back, Chad, and not that, you know, there's that much that I have to offer, but you know, I think it's important that you know, if we enjoy the fruits of these labors, that we kind of try to give back to the different associations, and also to, you know, just to kind of make sure that the original intent and idea of TALT is continues to the mission and the vision of it continues on a good pathway, and I think that's important, and I feel like our board at TALT really feels the importance of that and understands the importance of that.
Yeah, we have a great board and great leadership from that board, and the vision to, you know, I think help even build TALT even further, you know, and be able to provide other tools and in the toolbox to help you know, landowners in the future and be successful with that legacy.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, one of the things, you know, the board's kind of on that topic is really looking at right now is this white paper about resilient landscapes and the roles that Texas working lands play in making, you know, sure that we remain resilient into the future. And what does this really mean to you, Bob, from this resilient landscapes and working lands and that perspective?
Well, a lot of different components come in there, Chad, but I certainly think, you know, maintaining a resilient landscape is important for a lot of different reasons. It's important for the economic success of private landowners and you know, cattle operators. It's important for the health of our lands, the environmental health of our lands, of our wildlife, of these different landscapes, and you know, it's important for the public as well, because there's a tremendous amount of public benefits that that we can provide, and I think we're just kind of scratching the surface a little bit on that right now. As far as the carbon sequestration, economic, environmental services, and things of that nature that are starting to come together. You're starting to hear a lot more about, and if that's a market that landowners can possibly garnish a little bit more revenue to be able to take care of their properties from, then and keep their properties together. I think we need to pursue continued research with that. And, there's as in y'all's white paper, y'all clarified really well, I think, some of the stumbling blocks ahead of us to be able to have a good functional ecosystem services market. And, so we've got some work ahead of us on that, but I don't think it's insurmountable. And, the other part of that is when you talk about the economics of the landowners there, if they've got a good, healthy business going and able to keep that land together and able to show the different heirs, and my family's probably a great example of it. I have some first cousins that I'm very close to that are equal landowners with my brother and I, and on our property. And some of them are urban dwellers, and they just, you never know what's going to happen. They may have some needs for in the future that if they don't really understand what's going on in the ranch, and they don't really feel like it's providing them very much benefit, or that they don't feel the importance of keeping it together, and want to split it up, and the only way to do that is divide the property and sell it, and your agricultural values immediately go down, in my opinion. And and those kind of properties, when that happens, it just a lot of the land goes out of agriculture, and it you're losing working land, so you're losing property that's contributing to the nation's food, and you're losing land in the wildlife and populations that are on it. And it's usually, keeping it open space and keeping it big is always going to be better, certainly for the land and for the public benefits that come from the land, whether it's water or these economic services we're talking about. And so I think it's certainly going to be worth pursuing, and I think it could be very beneficial to being able to keep open space and some of these lands that are endangered of being fragmented. But one of the more important things is education of a lot of the landowners too, that are maybe not as attached to it as much as they were. So that's, anytime we can get some education some information about these different things out, I think it's beneficial.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's just so much value of these ecosystem services, and this clean water and open space and recreation. Just it goes on and on, right? A long list of these values that these properties bring, and it's, some of these values are hard to put a dollar figure on. I don't know, Bob, if you saw just last week, our counterpart there in California, the California Rangeland Trust, did a study on the value of ecosystem services on basically about the same size that we have here at Talta, around 300,000 acres that they have under easements with the University of Berkeley, California, Berkeley. And they, through Berkeley's work, And this is an underestimate because they don't have all the figures and numbers. But on that 300,000 acres there in California on rangelands, they're providing over $1 billion annually, right? And so that's real value. That's real numbers.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited on that work, and would love to kind of start building upon that work here in Texas to really start articulating those benefits here from here at TALT. So it's some exciting work. You mentioned too, Bob, this disconnect, right, from urban, and we've seen it over the years of people getting further and further disconnected from agriculture. But really, when we think about this pandemic we're experiencing right now, I think we've underscored the importance of the food supply chain in the U.S. And what are your observations about the role of ranchers and working lands during these times, during this pandemic?
Well, there's definitely if we don't continue to enhance and increase agriculture production, whether it's beef production or and that's really beef production where livestock are harvesting plant materials that are not really necessarily edible by humans, are able to be utilized for humans. That is really one of the better scenarios for being able to increase our global food production around the world. And so when you see all the negative narratives about what beef does to the environment, and people espousing that it's bad and for the climate, and it's causing climate change or whatever, it just kind of, I think it behooves us to make sure that we continue to have the right science that and be able to show a lot of these urban folks that that's not really the case, and we actually are we're more a part of the solution than we are a part of the problem when it comes to climate change. And so it's very important that we continue to try to get that word out and try to educate a lot of the urban masses and make sure that they're getting the correct information. And there's a lot of misinformation going out. So I really truly believe that that the cattle producers throughout the world are probably have a great opportunity to be able to contribute and help the climate issues and not be part of it, the problem. So it's we have one of the lowest carbon footprint here in North America than anywhere else in the world, and it's because we're very efficient producers, and we have good genetics, and we've paid a lot of attention to being able to be efficient producers through the years, and that's honestly is what's gonna help us get to that point where we're not really contributing to the problem. So, and through a lot of the different roundtables, I think that we will be able to kind of put the word out and help educate some of the areas that may not be as efficient, and in understanding what that means and how that can really help everybody in the grand scheme of things. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's really about us telling our story as well. We're very humbled, and we just keep put our head down and do all that work. And like you said, we look at the 30% reduction in carbon footprint since 1975, and we just haven't really told that story, and people understand all that hard work that the producers have done. So Bob, I really we started this conversation by noting that you're a fifth generation rancher. You followed in the footsteps of your forebears in so many ways, from carrying on the tradition of your ranching heritage, to serving leadership roles of key organizations like TSCRA and NCBA and on our board here at TALT. What does it really mean for you to carry on these traditions?
Well, TALT and the idea of keeping the land intact and reducing the fragmentation is, it's really become a center point of conversation for so many different ranching families, and certainly my family as well. And going forward, we in our operation, when we talk about long range planning and some strategic planning from the future and for the future generations, that's a key component of what do we need to do to make sure we don't have to split this land up or sell this property for whatever reason to make some family member happy or bail them out or whatever. So that's become a very key component for us, and understanding that and education of that for some of my family that are more urban dwellers than myself, has really been positive. And so we talk about that a lot. I think these livestock organizations and landowner organizations have really embraced that whole idea in a big way, and it's a part of their driving force as well. And they are the organizations that can really put together really good programs for education and of the public, for education of the public, whether it's through the checkoff programs or different policy that they have, or legislation that they pursue. And and so I think there's going to be a bigger need for folks to get active and stay involved. And as far as TALT, that whole mission and vision of that organization and making sure that we have board members there that understand the inner workings of working lands, whether it be wildlife operations or cattle operations or what have you, or farming operations, is so important that we have people like that. And we spend a lot of time at TALT kind of vetting everybody who we're looking at, and I think everybody kind of puts that hat on as far as recruitment and nominating folks to make sure we have a really good board. And I think we have an excellent board in there at TALT, and so it's really one of the more enjoyable boards that I've served on. So, and it's because we've got such good folks on there.
Well, Bob, I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to just visit, and more importantly, thank you for your friendship and your leadership, and being a solution to all these issues we have forward. So I really appreciate that, your perspective and everything you've provided to the industry. So I hope everybody enjoyed this episode and can join us again for our next episode. We kind of stepped back. Our very first episode was with Blair, talking about the TALT, just the beginning and the stages and building TALT from its organization. And our second episode was with Dr. Roel Lopez, really talking about what I would say the why, talking about the land trends and population trends and all of this, these issues coming down the pipeline to potentially hinder our freedom to operate and keep our legacy. And then Bob with us today, really giving us this producer perspective, which was really key, and very insightful listening from Bob on his thoughts. Our next episode is going to be with Bart Fisher. Dr. Fisher, it's going to be more around the policy side. Bart serves as a co-director of the Agricultural and Food Policy Center they're here at Texas A&M University and as a research assistant professor in the Department of Agricultural Economics. I've worked with Bart for many, many years. Before Bart came to A&M, he worked for the Committee on Agriculture on the U.S. House of Representatives. And he worked under, our very own Congressman Conaway there out of Midland. And he was the deputy staff director and chief economist. And, Bart's helped put the, 2014, 2018 farm bills together. And, Bart himself is also a fifth generation producer out of Oklahoma. So hope everybody can join us and listen to conversation with Bart on policy. So again, thank you, Bob, and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chad. I enjoyed it.
Beyond the Fence Line is brought to you by the Texas Agricultural Land Trust, dedicated to conserving the Texas heritage of agricultural lands, wildlife habitats, and natural resources. Find out more at txaglandtrust.org.